Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to put on our detective hats and use literary theory to uncover the hidden biases hiding inside artificial intelligence.
Okay, so this whole thing really starts with a very human trait, unconscious bias. It's that mental shortcut our brain takes, just instinctively categorizing people and things without us even being aware of it. It's all guided by our past experiences, and it pretty much shapes how we see the world, whether we like it or not.
So that brings us to the big question, right? Is artificial intelligence somehow free from this very human flaw? I mean, if AI is basically a mirror to all of humanity's knowledge and culture, what exactly is it showing us about ourselves? What does that reflection look like?
All right, let's dive right in with our first experiment. We're going to test for one of the most deep-rooted biases out there, gender.
So here's the setup. It's pretty simple. We're going to give a generative AI a prompt. Just write a Victorian story about a scientist who discovers a cure for a deadly disease. Straightforward enough? Let's see what happens.
And boom, there it is. Dr. Edmund Bellamy, a physician. The AI immediately, without even being asked, defaults to a male protagonist. Think about that. For a role that's all about intellect and discovery, its first thought is a man. That's telling.
Okay, let's switch it up. Let's try another prompt, this time asking specifically for a female character from a classic Gothic novel.
Wow, okay. A trembling, pale girl, her beauty a fragile beacon. We get the total stereotype, right? The damsel in distress. This is a character type straight out of literary traditions where women are often just helpless figures.
So what's going on here? Well, this is where it gets really interesting from a literary perspective. The AI has basically learned what critics have been pointing out for decades. It's this thing called the angel/monster binary. Female characters get flattened into these stereotypes, either the submissive angel or the hysterical monster. The AI inherited this right from its training data, from what we could call the patriarchal canon.
All right, let's move on. For our second experiment, we're going to test for racial bias, and this one can be a lot more subtle. This time, the prompt is super open-ended, just 3 words. Describe a beautiful woman. That's it. We're trying to see what the AI's default for beautiful actually is.
Okay, so the output is poetic, sure, but look at the words it's using. Moonlight on marble. What does that make you think of? Those metaphors, while they sound nice, are really tied to Eurocentric beauty standards. Think fairness, lightness, whiteness.
And here's the key thing. We never said anything about race, but the AI still defaulted to a very specific standard. Why? Because its training data is just full of stuff where whiteness is treated as the default. It's reflecting all the biases found in everything from colonial literature to, the ads we see every day. It's replicating and amplifying that. Okay, so the first 2 examples were about bias the AI kind of absorbs from its data. But now we're going to look at something different. A bias that isn't just learned by accident, but is actually put there on purpose, a deliberate one. So for this next experiment, we have a tale of 2 AIs. We took one from the US and one from China, and we asked them the exact same question about a politically sensitive event. And the results, well, they couldn't be more different. The US AI gives a pretty detailed factual response. The Chinese AI, it just says, sorry, let's talk about something else. It completely shuts down the conversation. It's like hitting a digital wall. So this shows us there's a huge difference here. You've got inherent bias, that's the stuff we've been talking about, what it learns unconsciously from all that data. But then you have deliberate control. That's when someone intentionally programs the algorithm to avoid or censor certain topics. That's a whole other ballgame. Which brings us to probably the most important question here. Look, if some bias is just unavoidable, right? We're all human. When does it actually cross a line and become truly harmful? Well, there's a pretty good way to test for this. It's all about consistency. Let's call it the Pushpaka Vimana test. Imagine you ask an AI about flying objects from myths all around the world, Greek, Norse, Indian. If it treats them all as mythical, great, that's a consistent standard, not really a harmful bias. But if it treats the Greek and Norse myths as fact or history, but then dismisses the Indian one as just a silly myth, well, now we've got a problem. That's a clear bias. And that's really what we need to watch out for. This is what we call harmful systematic bias.
It's when a bias doesn't just offer a different perspective, but actively privileges the dominant groups while silencing or misrepresenting marginalized voices. It's a system that reinforces inequality.
So you see, the goal isn't to create some perfectly unbiased AI. That's probably impossible because it's learning from us. The real problem is when one type of bias becomes invisible, when it's treated as the default, as the universal truth. The real goal is for us to get better at making those invisible biases visible.
And that's really what you should take away from all this. Learning to see this stuff is like gaining a new superpower. It means you can do more than just use AI. You can understand it, you can question it, you can see the human fingerprints all over the code. So now that you can see the bias, the real question is, what are you going to question next?